Wondering how to walk in the third and fifth dimensions simultaneously while ascending? Are you ready to embrace your light and divine purpose? Then this is the show for you. Paul Wyrostek is a spiritual teacher and channeler of healing that has been clearing the energy and bringing in healing light from the higher selves of his clients worldwide for well over a decade. Paul has a very powerful connection to universal oneness that is not easily explainable unless experienced. He's performed thousands of healing sessions that are all in each life-changing, guiding, healing, and teaching light workers and empaths as they awaken out of the third dimension of life.
Angel Heart Radio programs should not be used to replace your legal or medical advice, nor your own sound judgment. In truth, nothing can dim your magnificence. You are a divine spark, a universal light. You are here on purpose. You are part of a divine plan. And it's our joy to support you. We're here to celebrate you. Welcome to Angel Heart Radio. Powered by love, Angel Heart Radio is brought to you by AngelLight777.com. A divinely ordered life with spiritual teacher Deb Goldberg on Angel Heart Radio starts now.
Welcome everyone to Angel Heart Radio. I am your host, Deb Goldberg, and it brings me great pleasure to be here with you today. It's an honor to serve you in the highest ways that I can, bringing you divine messages of love and blessings for your life. Welcome, Paul Wyrostek, to Angel Heart Radio.
Thank you, Deb, and thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
I'm so happy to have you here. I met Paul on Enlightened World Network when he did a meditation a day for us. And I just felt like I would like to share him on my show on Angel Heart Radio because I thought that I loved your message. I loved your groundedness in divine love. And I just thought that what you're doing in helping humanity with healing and guiding is really important. So I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you. Yeah, it's great to be able to be a part of things like this and really express, and to be able to share and help, anybody that's listening now or that anybody that will be listening to this, there'll be something in this that will resonate with them, that will raise their vibration a little bit, or just something to just click inside, and that can just shift somebody's energy, especially during, heavier times like this that we're experiencing in the external world.
Yeah. And so that's a real blessing for everybody. So I want you to help us understand how you got to be a channel and a spiritual teacher. How did all of this come about?
It came about as far back as I can remember, and it was from seeing energy. And it started off in a very uncomfortably. I mean, maybe like 5, I think, was the first time I experienced spirits walking in, and as if they were people. I didn't know the difference. My first experience, I actually felt the cold off the jacket that my great-grandfather had come in the front door, walked down into the room I was staying in, and I actually felt the cold, and I saw him clear as day, even though it was at night. So right away, okay, something's going on here. I remember seeing Jesus's face sticking out of a picture, like 3D sticking out of a picture in midair. So he was a little creepy at first because he was the guy in the hallway,
Uh-huh.
But and then it just really started picking up from there. I grew up in a really haunted house, if you will, I guess one way of putting it, and there was activity everywhere. And there was a lot of trauma from it, and a lot of darkness, to be totally, honest about it. But and it was a progressively getting heavier as my life went on, because I noticed that these energies through the traumas were adding up. They were adding up like layers of an onion. And then I got to, and I was all into it too. I started at the lower frequencies of channeling, I call it, which would be, the paranormal levels. Okay. Because here I am living in a haunted house. Things are moving in front of me.
Wow.
Friends that would not come over to the house. No one slept over that house, but I grew up in it,
Paul, how did
So
you deal with that?
I don't know.
I mean, being that little and having all of that happening,
Yeah,
was there anybody
was
you could share it with?
not really at the time. Not well. One of my brothers, I could share it with, because he was experiencing the same things. My mother, God bless her, but she would basically be like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to hear it. So, and one of the key things, this is kind of a funny part, is, back in the day, back in the 70s, horror movies, they were scarier than any horror movie out today, because they didn't have the effects. And I remember watching something like Poltergeist or some, thing like that. And my mother was watching it, and she's like, don't watch this. So of course, me and my brother are creeping down the hallway, and we're, poking our head around the corner. And I'll never forget, but what I saw on the TV that was supposedly a movie, I was living with every day. So there was a real sinking feeling that, oh, here we go. I knew it the whole time anyway. So I was into all of the, the ghost stuff, because that's all that was really there. There wasn't even internet, so there was no connection other than a few books from the 70s at the library, that had to do with like psychic, abilities or something. So there was nowhere to go, And then I went down a very traumatic road. I went down a very dark road. And it's the only way I knew. There was no other option. It was just a pretty much, that's it. You only have one option, and just keep walking forward and survive, keep yourself together, and then having to function in school when, my mattress is being pulled off the bed and I'm waking up with the mattress on the floor. So when you grow up and then when you experience, now we're talking 20 years old. Yeah, Julie says Amityville Horror. That's pretty much what I say that it was. But then you have to go to school with a smile on your face and somehow concentrate.
Right.
Now, school wasn't any better because I pick up on energy so much that, school was, I don't know what was worse. Being home, actually home was better than being at school for me.
Wow.
So, but, going through all this stuff, it's, I want to say I was born for this, right? So something called my higher self that I didn't know about yet was guiding me right through, right? So somehow surviving, of course, going down the bad roads, the heavy metal lead singer, and the, all of the just self-indulging, anything to numb, right? And then it took till about 34 years old before I met my teachers that I finally knew, okay, this is what I've been looking for, because for many years, I always knew I was going to be a medium. I always said in my head, I'm a worldwide medium. I just have to get there, because that's why I'm dealing with all this stuff, right? So, but that was my biggest passion too. So there was that. Now here's the glow of it, of, okay, this stuff's going on, but somehow I had this inner light that I can survive it all and somehow keep moving forward. So I found that light and I cultivated that light, right? And that actually started in the foster home when I was a child. I spent like 3.5 years in a foster home, starting from like 1 year old or earlier. So I found this thing inside that was called me. And it turned out to be the biggest blessing ever, because I found me, and that's what carried me through until I met my teachers, and they looked at me and said, you have something going. So I started healing sessions with one of them, and the other one was teaching me as well. And as I'm going through these, I had a healing session every 2 weeks for 3 years. Okay. I had my first healing session, and her name was Grace. And as she's channeling, I felt and watched this shadow come out of me. And in my third eye, I saw the face of a woman, a dark energy, surface. And I felt something I never felt before in my life. So from that moment, it was the ultimate feeling of, I knew it. I knew I was right about it all, right? And I knew there was energies interfering with my free will and free choice, manipulating my thoughts, my energy field, draining my energy. And that was the first of many sessions of about, I think the first year was removing heavy, heavy darkness, traumas, you know, the layers that living in trauma is, and that stuff compacts like coal. You know, it's like carbon squeezed, or it's carbon pushed into a diamond, you know. So it took a long time. And as I'm releasing these layers, my frequency is going up. My frequency is going up. I'm being able to release the things in my life that doesn't serve me. Okay. I'm able now to take my own steps. I'm able to release addictions and all the different things that were happening where I couldn't before, because there was just too much of this invisible energy on me. Everything from spirits to shadows. I mean, I would show up for a healing session and the whole room would be filled with spirits that we would cross over. Okay. So after years of this, after about the first year mark, I show up for a session. I sit down, we do our normal thing. Maybe it was more than a year. And Grace is just looking at me and she's giggling. Now, by this time, I'm used to these beings of light that were coming in during all my healing sessions, right? Because I wide open channel. So I know what these archangels were, these masters, but these beings of light would show up. Well, I'm seeing the whole room fill up. And she's just sitting there giggling, and I'm like, what is this, an intervention? You know, like, what's going on? We didn't even start. And she said, Paul, this is your team. You're not a medium. You're a channeler of healing. And she said, you're a healer of healers. And okay, I can handle seeing darkness and shadows and spirits, but, you know, I'm like, I have archangels and, you know, these beings of light. This was like through the roof, right?
Yeah.
So, and over time, sure enough, I started, you know, it was the biggest igniting of a passion that anybody can possibly have. I went home, I started connecting to universal oneness, knowing that all of the ascended masters, angels, just beings of light, you can call them ancestors of light, right, are trying to get me to learn how to connect to my source energy, that light that got me through all of the darkness that I now call my college. Okay. So I started my first healing sessions, and one by one over 14 years ago. And now I'm worldwide, and I've been full-time for over 4 years, and over 99.9% of my clients worldwide are light workers, channelers, readers. So it was like, it's a full circle thing, you know, and now I've been here, you know, channeling for people and doing meditations and podcasts like this. And you know, it's kind of the feeling when you discover your niche, when you discover your path, and then you become it and you move forward in it. It's the ultimate bliss. It's like a dam just breaking free, and think of the river just going, it just gets to just there, all
Yeah.
over. So yeah, that's how I got here in a big nutshell.
What a fabulous story. Wow. And it's incredible when if you look back at your life and everything that you went through, bringing you to this moment and into your purpose, into your passion.
Yeah.
And it's a real role modeling for other people to know that they're being guided too, whether they know it or not, right?
Yes.
They have their own inner light that is guiding them the same way that yours has been. And to be able to come into connecting with your life source and being able to bring through wisdom and healing is it's beautiful.
Yes. It's from where I come from, it was a completely different life, and it's the polar opposite. So when I look back, and I'm like, I don't even know that person. Like, that wasn't even me.
Right.
This was me, and I was in this matrix.
Uh-huh.
I was living this thing, this program.
Right.
Pretty much what it was. And
Right.
when we wake up, the veils of the program start breaking down.
Mm-hmm.
They start falling, and this is called an awakening, and it is horrific
Mm-hmm.
because when those barriers come down, the vulnerability,
Mm-hmm.
not everybody, a lot of people run backwards. They run the other way.
Right.
They'll go far and they'll run the other way.
Mm-hmm.
And so it takes a lot. It takes a lot for, to be able to break the ego down, because the ego is the
Yes.
first thing that wants to stop you from your healing path.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's just a vicious thing.
Yeah.
And you have to, find the light. But
Yeah.
that's why, and I'll say this to this day, if it wasn't for the healing sessions, if it wasn't for my teachers,
Mm-hmm.
I would not have found my way out of that.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying this for everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying it, I was in the darkest of the dark places.
Mm-hmm.
So, but here's the thing, I wanted out. I was talking to Universal Oneness. I was talking to Jesus because that's who I knew, or
Mm-hmm.
God.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's how I was brought up Protestant. But I always felt this super strong connection whenever I thought or put my intent towards church or Universal One, or Jesus or angels. I would experience something, and I didn't know what that was.
Mm-hmm.
But I talked to it. I thought to it.
Mm-hmm.
It got me out of, every dark situation I was in. When there's energies breathing on me in the middle of the night, when things are, flower pots are just swinging from the ceiling like this, and in the middle of the living room, and I haven't moved in an hour.
Right.
What do? You talk to God,
Yeah.
Jesus. When I'm being pulled out of my body, when I'm trying to sleep, hundreds and hundreds of times, Jesus, in my mind, Jesus,
Right. Right.
and then, and instantly I was always pulled out. It was always, and then more and more, I would call on Jesus or the light. It was just me connecting to sources, really. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just using Jesus. That was one of the many gateways, to it. But the lights, these situations lasted longer and longer and longer. And Jesus wasn't showing up. The light wasn't showing up. I'm still floating out of my body. And I'm like hanging in midair, like, but it was to teach me something, that I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
Find the light in me. And then I stopped fighting it, and I just went into the cold water. Or, like jumping out of a plane with a parachute. Okay, you have a parachute, but everything about you is like, no, 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 no,
Mm-hmm.
no, don't do this,
Right.
But yeah, and you step into it. So I think for everybody, if I could get across the whole journey, anybody can. All right. All you have to do is make that connection to source in your mind, whatever. Just when you want it, it's like a magnet will kick on and you will be navigated through all the darkness,
Mm-hmm.
and you will get there. But you have to truly mean it, and you have to be ready to say, you know what, I'm done with all the things that have taken my life down. I'm done with the fear. I'm done with the whatever it is. And then the hardest part, you have to be willing to heal, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Awakening is not for sissies at all. I've been through the process. Mine was a little different. I was awoke by Jesus and then God and then the angels and uh, doing the healing that needed to be opening Pandora's box, right? It's like opening Pandora's box. You have no idea what's inside.
And then Pandora's box has Pandora boxes in
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And so they sat
it.
with
Right.
me and took apart every trauma, everything that came up all at once. And yeah, you just want to like you have all this energy flowing out of your body at the same time, all this, and you feel it. It's all feelings. It's like you don't even know what to do with anything. So yeah, it's quite an experience. And I didn't have the same trauma you had growing up. I had other trauma, but it is really magnificent to see how resilient that you can be, right?
It's yeah. The light
With
cannot be
yeah,
dimmed. Can't.
no, it can't.
Hmm.
So okay, so the show is also about how do we navigate this? So okay, we woke up and now we're into 3D and we're in 5D at the same time. How do we walk both worlds? How do we navigate and walk through both worlds? Because I see myself, I waffle back and forth.
Yeah. Yeah, I find that that's the very do you notice there's it's like magnets. There's different poles, right? So you have
Mhm.
fear and you have love.
Uh-huh.
And you can think of that as the ego and higher self. The
Mhm.
first thing that comes to my mind about navigating the third dimension and the fifth dimension is aware that there's a third dimension and a fifth dimension. So it's finding that within yourself. And at first, that can be extremely confusing, especially people with all sorts of traumas and everything and all that. It's
Mhm.
like, you're telling them about the light and they can't see it. But it's navigating that the love, which is unconditional, right? There's no judgment whatsoever. It doesn't expect anything from you, no matter what. If you do something wrong, it doesn't shift it. It's always gentle. It's always truth. It's always peace. It's always
Mhm.
calm. It's very it flows. It's not jagged, right?
Mhm.
And then there's the ego, which is it's all fear based, right? It's the fear, it's the worry, it's the you know the mind talk, the negative talk in the mind and everything. So I think now not everybody's going to be here. We know, people, there's people that are not meant to awaken,
Mhm.
and they won't even get to that threshold. But for the people that are at that threshold to where they have some bearing on love and fear, ego, higher self, I think that would be the first step, of navigating the third and the fifth dimension. And then also just being aware how this happens. So it's literally two worlds at the same exact time, but in a different dimension. Just like you and I are living a parallel lifetime right now at this exact same second, and we're both saying the exact same thing,
Mhm.
right? And if there is a a hole in the veil, if you will, or a doorway in the veil of the two parallel quantum existences happen, you get a deja vu.
Mm-hmm.
You get this bzzz, right?
Yeah.
I've been here before. No,
Uh-huh.
it's you right now.
Yeah, right.
You know, and of course the deja vu, it means you're right where you're meant to be, right at that moment, to me. So yeah, navigating it, understanding that it's the shift out of us. So the world is shifting at the same time. The earth has a higher self, just like us, that's going through this whole thing. We're just riding on the back, of the fleas of light on the dog, and we're just hurling through the friggin' universe on this journey. But once we understand what's going on outside in the world is the same thing that's going on inside. So I guess the next thing to navigate the third to fifth dimension is letting go of, healing. It really is, right? Being able to heal, being able to recognize, and to be able to have the courage to release the things that don't serve us. Okay. And the biggest thing for all of us, light workers, empaths, beings of unconditional love, is like the best thing I could think of who we are, right? Is to say no to blame, shame, guilt, narcissists, and the lack matrix, the third dimensional matrix.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this is it. This means we have to, energy starting to shift around. So there is healing that is happening for everybody that is watching.
Mm-hmm.
But navigating that and being able to, then that's the hardest thing, because basically, you'll have to say no to your abusers. Okay. You'll have to say no to, anyone and anything that doesn't serve you. You have to walk through terror. You have to pretty much walk through, through the dragons, through the lions, through the darkness, through the shadows. A lot would be your own shadows too. So it's being willing. I did a video. What was it? The three stages of self-transformation. The first thing is being aware.
Mm-hmm.
Being aware, that's usually the awakening stage, right? The second is being willing, is to, okay, I'm willing. Because as soon as we're willing, we're a lot easier to navigate this.
Mm-hmm.
We stepped out of our own way, okay? And then the action, okay, the actual, okay, make a deal with your higher self, make a deal with yourself if you can't find your higher self, and then being able to start saying no, and no matter how scared someone may be, to still be able to know that, okay, this abusive situation, for example, I may walk away from this and have nothing, even with a kid, and just be, I might be in my car, but still being able to make those steps, that self-love to say no more. And then that's usually where, boom, universal oneness kicks in, and you get taken care of. So this whole third dimension of the fifth dimension is not necessarily, easy, like you said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's an opportunity for all the constructs that we've believed in and lived our life by, and in the illusion, it gets forced up so that we can actually look at and say, okay, what is this behavior from, or what is this thought from, or whatever, and really starting to look at your belief system and how you have acted accordingly to that belief system. So I think right now with this virus, it's allowing everything to come up. It's sort of like you're being spiritually awoke, whether you like it or not. We're going to open up the Pandora's box and bring all the fears that you have sitting inside of you up, so that it's time to heal, right?
Absolutely. And then, years ago, it would, I'd have a healing session done on me, and it would be like, okay, release some spirits, because, they're always magnets to, magnetized to a medium or a channeler. And then it would be like, oh, this one past life thing came up. And that would be the whole session. Okay. And then, you know, you'd feel great. You'd feel great for quite a while after that. And then, okay, you could feel it again. Nowadays, everything's coming up and we're not having any time off.
Mm-mm.
As soon as we, you know, clear one Pandora's box, the next one goes, you know, you wind it up and the thing pops out, blah,
Yep.
you know.
Yep. Yeah.
Hey. And that's blending in that. And also I noticed during my healing sessions with clients is when I open up light and connect the client to higher self, even through my group healings, it's like I get nudged aside and universal oneness just takes over.
Yeah.
And healing is going everywhere. It's still layers of an onion. It's all healing is layers of an onion. So we can handle it, so we can acclimate to it, so we can walk through it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm noticing it's very Akashic. It's very that the healing is going anywhere and everywhere that's of the highest of good, because everybody's higher self knows what's going on, right?
Uh-huh.
So knows what to do. Doesn't need Paul to say it, you know? So the light comes in and I've seen, and this started about 2 months ago, where healing is going to every single incarnation that we've ever been in.
Mm-hmm.
All quantum,
Mm-hmm.
right? It keeps, everything's always been quantum, but this third dimension is shifting into the fifth. Third dimension is the only dimension where there's a backwards and forward. It's
Mm-hmm.
linear.
Mm-hmm.
So since the fifth dimension energy is coming in, every time people are just losing time, right? Losing the days. Time's been speeding up. It's almost irrelevant in a way. We're still in it, right? But the healing is also speeding up as well. So yeah, it's and this is the fastest I've ever felt the ascension happen.
Mm-hmm.
Is the past, you know, year. So,
Mm-hmm.
and it makes me think, this just begun. Where are we going
Well,
from here?
I was saying that the whole world has been crying for change in all different ways, like politically, culturally, all over the world. And then you have light workers crying for change. They want to ascend, right?
Mhm.
So it's sort of like, okay, here you go.
Yeah,
You asked for it, you got it.
exactly. And you know, we that have been awake for a long time, and all of the channelers, light workers, psychics back in the day, you know, we're talking in the 20s, 30s, 40s, all paved the way for this right now.
Mm-hmm.
So just like you and I, right? So we have been holding down the fort. We've been holding down the light where the rubber meets the road. We've been holding down the light on the front line, getting battered, getting run over, getting attacked, getting chased, and holding that light. Okay. And then, so people like you and I are like, we're waiting for the palm trees and the, you know, and the relax, and not like, we're like, no, like we're here, we did it. Like dimension, way of life, like it's bliss now. And then the whole thing happens, excuse me, externally, to where, oh no, this has just begun. We were just holding the light down for all this to happen. And all of us with fifth dimensional and above beings creating a healing grid around the planet. But for the people that are complaining about it, you know, especially the people that are saying, I'm never coming back to this planet, you know, I don't belong here, this place is it's on its way out, you know, all that, you know. Yeah, well, number one, yeah, they'll be coming back, you know, but we paved the way for everything. There's a lot of energy shifting. So later on, we can do a quick little meditation and clearing, so we can, because a lot of people that are watching this, there's energy surfacing off of them. So kind of throwing me off. And there's healing going on with you as well. So,
All right. I'll take it. I'll take it.
But
Well, we have some questions here. We have somebody saying, is it possible to be dreaming of those dimensions? And, and I have a whole different way of looking at them, but I know that a lot of people use dimensions as a way of describing ascension. So maybe you can address that, Paul. How would you answer?
Yeah, well, dreams are a way of accessing other dimensions. It's teaching us. So for the people that are out of their bodies, or they're always out and about, like for example, dreamland is our kindergarten state of dimensions. Okay, so when we're in this dream, something's different, right? We there's not as much gravity. We can, we can flow. There's the colors maybe are a little bit brighter, right? There's people that that they're happier. A lot of times when we wake up depressed from a really good dream, that's because we tapped in. So when we're sleeping, it's really easy for our ego to get out of the way, for our thoughts to get out of the way. And then we enter into the dream state, which you could think of as one of the layers of the fourth dimension, right? So we're in the third, the physical. Just out here is where the fourth is, where all thoughts are. All thoughts anyone ever thought is floating around here. This is where the dream wall, the veil, which has been thinning out for years, right, has doorways or holes in it. And sometimes when we're sleeping, which the just normal dreamland, we're experiencing another dimension, okay? But then there's, for those of us
Your voice just kind of cut out a little bit, the sound. Yeah.
Okay, that's energy.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I said, it always happens. But so you're in dreamland, and then what happens is we can enter into the astral plane. Okay, and this is where you realize, okay, I'm not dreaming anymore. Like, I know I'm dreaming, but then we go into this different place, and a lot of this, when we enter into this place, it's usually it could be a pretty gray area. Okay, this is where spirits are, lost souls, right? Trapped souls, anger. This is where hell could be, supposedly, right? Because there's people that were not in their light when they passed. So it's real, like a subway system, okay, if you will. It's or an airport. It's kind of like filled with great emotions. It's filled with really sad emotions. There's no real privacy, so it's kind of a vulnerable feeling. And then the fifth dimension can also come through the fourth dimension, through the dreams. And then we can also have these brilliant experiences, right? This is where people's loved ones can come through, right, and visit. So that right there is the introduction to dimensions. So yes, dreaming is absolutely a very, very huge, easiest way of accessing the different dimensions.
Okay.
That was a good question.
Yeah, it is a good question. So I'm just looking through here if anybody else, has any other questions. But anyway, right now, so is there any other tips or tools that you would like to talk about for people as we're going through this shift?
Yeah, I think any sort of connection to your own individual higher self, or any sort of connection to healing, or anything to raise your frequency, which is navigating the path of the third dimension to the fifth, is healing, releasing, raising your vibration by, I think one of the most important things right now is diet. Okay, because it's immunity, right? Because we're vibrating beings. Okay, so everything's vibration. Every cells make up everything: hair, teeth, fingernails, heart, skin, everything. And there's this gravitational force that somehow makes us, right,
Mm-hmm.
stick together,
Mm-hmm.
which is crazy because we have all this gravity pulling down.
Mm-hmm.
So what is that magnet? It's the heart center, right? It's love.
Mm-hmm.
There's a source that connects to that. It's invisible. It's higher self. Higher self, there's many different levels. I am presence, and then universal oneness, and then you have all our teams of light. So to understand that your vibration, so certain thoughts that we have can lower our vibration.
Mm-hmm.
Certain thoughts we have can raise our vibrations, just like certain foods can lower our vibration. Certain foods can raise our vibration. Certain people can lower it, right? Certain people can raise it. So I think it's noticing what in your life is bringing your vibration down, and then choosing to release it, and then cultivating that self-love, that self-worth to where you start taking the steps forward to saying no to any energy that's draining you, and to connect. Is meditation is a huge thing, yoga, exercise, anything that brings joy and excitement. So even if it's just listening to your favorite music, or going back into childhood, something that you've never been able to do as a child, but you can now, like say it's music, creating music, or hey, I let me try these dance classes or something, somebody might think, so everybody's higher self will always give them a little flash of light, and it's always what brings you joy, what's your passion, what's your talents, what's your gifts, right? So start to move towards those lighthouses of light, and I think that's a whole bunch of tips of what people can do at this time to raise their vibration.
Mm-hmm. So somebody's asking, Michelle, recommendations on food.
Food is very fresh vegetables, fresh fruit. I'm vegan, so I'm like plant-based. So I found that has extremely raised my vibration. Now, here's the most important part. You don't have to go full vegan, but this is extremely important. It's the sugar has to go, the dairy has to go, the wheat, the gluten. Those are the biggest things that are bringing our energy down. So changing the diet just simply means, not going to McDonald's. Instead, go cook yourself some asparagus. If you like fish, have some potatoes, or have some Brussels sprouts, have salad, right? So what happens is, after a week of doing that, no pizza, no buffalo wings, right? We kind of know instinctually what we're not supposed to eat. So, and then people's egos right about now are going to be like, oh, so you take away those nachos, and buffalo wings. But once you start eating clean, and this is more now of what we're going through now with this ascension we're experiencing now. I think it's very important, because carbon-based cells, right, with the imprints of the old third dimension, the trauma, the blame, shame, guilt, are light bodies pushing out that density. And what happens is our body is becoming reconnected to its divine original blueprint. Now, if you can ask God, okay, God, hand me a friggin' menu directly from my divine blueprint, what would be the best thing for me to eat? I guarantee you there wouldn't be French fries, there wouldn't be buffalo wings, and there wouldn't be, things like that. So I'm not saying you can't have fun. I'm not saying, you can't have these foods. I'm just saying it's up to you. How far do you want to go? Up the rabbit hole,
Right.
So.
Yeah. And, I've had that conversation with God as to what is the best thing I should be eating. and I was told I need to eat what feels good in my body.
Yeah.
And to make it really easy, what feels good in your body? What
Hmm.
doesn't feel good
It's
after
true.
you ate it?
Yeah, right.
What makes you feel sluggish? What makes you, and every person's body's going to be different of how they react to foods. So
Right.
I found that a lot easier for me is okay. So he's saying just eat what feels good
Yeah,
inside
that
you.
sounds really good, because that way it, you know, it's a lot easier that way, isn't
It
it?
is easier.
And if you eat something and then 20 minutes later you're sleeping on the couch,
Right.
you right, that would
Yeah.
be an example of your frequency dropping.
Right.
Also, I noticed this too before. This was after I was eating clean for a while. What did I do? I think I stopped and I had a cheeseburger at McDonald's because I was in a hurry,
Mm.
right? I was in the best mood ever all morning. I ate that cheeseburger, but 20 minutes later, it was like, screw the world, screw this. I don't know. Like, I went into the worst mood for the rest of the day.
Uh-huh. It
I
makes
didn't
you
come out of
crash.
that. And that was a real eye opener for me,
Hmm.
you know. So, and what happens is, but I like the way you put it. Just go with what feels good, because through a lot of these phases of ascension, sometimes we may crave foods that aren't good for us, but it's okay to eat,
Hmm.
because you need that to it's clearing codes, right? So some people may be really drawn to salty food, and just everything they eat is salty. Some people might be craving sweets or ice cream or something. So it doesn't mean you can't live and you can't, enjoy the human body. It's just, how far do you want to go with it?
Hmm. Right. Yeah, that's really good. We have somebody saying, can the collective energy make me dizzy, or is it incoming energies? She said, last time I had vertigo was around 9/11. That's something I've had vertigo on and off for years. And I look at it as some kind of ascension process of what's going on within me. I
I
don't know,
agree.
yeah, how
Yeah.
you would describe that.
Light is pushing out density. So something is, it doesn't kind of make sense to the logical mind, but light can actually push out dark, heavy, dense trauma energy, right? So think of that. So when we have these waves of super high frequency, and we're in a very low frequency, it's going to be like almost sickening, right, at certain points, because it's pushing out, the toxins, if you will. So yeah, so that can cause vertigo. What, after channeling for all these years, I noticed that when there's energies around a person, too much energy, okay, whether it's the spirits around, whether trauma is surfacing, whether there's toxic people around, and it gets to be too much, it can cause vertigo as well. So if she felt that way at 9/11, she's very sensitive, and she's, or not, that could be all different layers within her, but she's picking up on the collective,
Mhm.
what's going on. So yeah, it's everything. It's light coming in, and it's picking up on external energies.
Okay. Now, these are great questions. I'm really happy people are asking.
Great questions.
So we have about 10-ish minutes left.
Mhm.
What is it that you would like to do?
Since so much energy is surfacing, but it's not just surfacing from people that are watching it. It's for now. It's people that are going to watch it as well. Quantum. It's pretty interesting. But energy is releasing. So what I would like to do is just gently just guide us into a quick 10-minute centering, and connect people to their higher self, and see if we can remove some of this external collective energy. So we can just start by just taking a few breaths. It doesn't take much. We don't have to go into this deep meditation. We're just shifting our attention. We're just shifting our consciousness. So we could be looking at each other, and we're just thinking of light, your higher self. Everybody that's listening, everybody that's watching, just thinking of the light in the heart activating, having that light expand out past the body, or just visualizing that you are in a healing space of pure light, and that I'm thanking universal oneness and speaking for anybody that gives permission, but thanking universal oneness that we choose to be centered to the full extent of the highest of good, to unconditional love, and to our higher selves, where each and every one of us is sitting right now. We're thanking universal oneness for the energy that just released and that's continuing to release. And as I'm guiding this meditation, we're thanking the Christ consciousness that we all are connected to, that's coming in right now. We're welcoming the light of our higher selves for activating within us, within our hearts, that this light is releasing any and all energy that no longer serves us, for whoever gives permission. That we're thanking you, universal oneness, that we choose to release all fear, thoughts, and emotions that do not belong to each and every one of us. And that we choose to experience our truth at this moment, that we are releasing any and all collective fear, any and all external energy that does not belong to us. And as we're expanding, imagining this light coming into us, and that we are like our own suns, our own balls of pure light, and we're sending out light in every direction, just like the sun is sending out light. And if we can visualize that with the awareness that this is universal oneness, this is the light of pure, unconditional love. As we're sending this light out as far as we can imagine, across the world, actually through the world, because the light shines in all directions, that we're thanking universal oneness, that we are sending this healing anywhere and everywhere that is of the highest of good. Big energy just shifted right there. We're thanking you, universal oneness, anywhere through the collective. We're thanking universal oneness for anyone that is experiencing the coronavirus, anyone that's experiencing lack, health issues, fear, anyone that we can reconnect to their light and their truth, and just to bring in the relief of love. Anybody that can receive love, universal oneness. And as we visualize ourselves sending out this light, bright as the sun, we're also receiving this light from above. We could think of it as above us, bringing that light down from source. And as we're doing this, we are reclaiming our connection to universal oneness. Some people see it as a silver cord. I like to see it, and I do see it a lot bigger. I see it as big as our aura coming down. More energy is shifting, but with this visualization and the awareness that this is love, that we're not just receiving our own healing, but that this light that we are sending out simultaneously is sending healing to anyone and everyone that needs it, that we are connecting to our soul family, that we are connecting and lighting the beacons to anyone and everyone that's of the highest of good for us to experience, that we are thanking universal oneness, that with this light we are aligning ourselves to our divine path, and that we are shutting the door behind us to any blocks, cords, or attachments to any past through all incarnations. Conscious that we are in the here and now, the future now. There is no forward, there is no backwards, there is no past or future. Aware that everybody is sitting right where they are right now. And they are love. That they are the light of universal oneness. That universal oneness lives within each and every one of you. And this light is reminding each and every one of you that universal oneness is not out there somewhere behind the planets, that the entire universe, universal oneness itself, archangels, masters, ancestors of light, they're all inside you. And if you're looking for source, if you're looking for higher self, angels and masters, and you're looking anywhere past your skin, you're looking too far. But thanking you, universal oneness, for the healing and the clarity that everyone that chooses to receive this healing, thanking you for all the energy to be released is processed in accordance to you for the highest of good of all involved, and that everyone that is experiencing their own individual healing from this and clearing is in the healing energy as long as of the highest of good. We're thanking universal oneness and our higher selves. And as we take the next few breaths, we're thanking universal oneness. And we say, let it be done. And so it is done. Perfect timing.
That was perfect timing, and that felt really, really good.
Yes. Thank you.
If,
Universal oneness. Thank you, universal oneness. The human still looks up, doesn't it, to
yeah.
universal oneness.
Yeah, instead of looking in. Yeah. Yeah, that was beautiful, Paul. Thank you so much.
You're all very welcome. Thank you for having me too. This was an amazing experience, and it's always great to be able to let that energy flow and to express our truth. So thank you, and thanks for everybody that watches this now or whenever they do, that I get to express my truth, and we all end up connecting. You know, everyone that's listens to this. So I want to thank everybody for watching this and for everybody for sharing this.
Yeah.
Anywhere and everywhere you feel that you can share this. And because we're connecting all to each other. And when we connect to each other, we're doing it for the whole. We're not just doing this for ourselves. We're doing it for ourselves. We're doing it for the earth. And we're doing this for the collective of the world. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I'm so grateful for you and all that you're doing and what you bring forth to humanity globally. You're getting thank you from everyone. And yes, please share out this broadcast on your timelines, to your groups, because other people can benefit from this. And that's the idea, is that we want to share this with as many people as we can, especially now. Well, Paul, can you tell people how to get in touch with you?
Yeah, they could just type my name in on Facebook. They can. My last name is my email, WYROSTEK1 or my cell is 401-429-3703. And they could also subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is just type in my name, and it'll pop right up, because I'm sure I'm the only one with that last name with this first name. And yeah, that's about it. Oh, I'm sorry. And my website, www.paulwyrostek.com.
Awesome. It's been a pleasure having you here with us, and hopefully we'll have you again on some other time in the future,
Sure,
um,
sure.
and hopefully on Enlightened World Network as well.
Awesome. And thank you
Yeah,
for having me, Deb. It's been a great time. It's a pleasure always. So thank you.
you're very welcome. So when in doubt, never underestimate the power of prayer. You are being listened to and heard throughout the universe with infinite and eternal love. Remember to go inside and listen to the whispers of heaven. I love you and God bless you.
You've been listening to another fabulous program on Angel Heart Radio. Our goal is to remind you of how much you matter in the world and to let you know that we appreciate who you are in the world. You can check out who's on, when we're on, and who our guests are at angelheartradio.com. Everything is there. It's all just one click away. Angel Heart Radio programs are powerful tools to help you in your life and your life experience. They are not intended, nor should they, be used to replace your medical or legal advice. Powered by love, Angel Heart Radio is brought to you by AngelLight777.com. The views and opinions expressed by Angel Heart Radio hosts, guests, co-hosts and associates should not be construed as advice from Angel Heart Radio.
Awesome.